been told through the last 3 years how to simplify the terrorist events of September 11, 2001. How could I simplify such an event in, say, a 10-minute window? And for those people who ask me that question, I tell them that it's impossible. To get a better understanding of how the events of September 11, 2001 happened, you have to go backwards in order to understand how to go forwards or understand what happened going forwards. And where do we start? Well, I usually start 1979. I mean, people could go back even further. I know I could, but you end up risking losing the person because that's a lot of studying about a number of different areas, such as the intelligence agencies, Arab fundamentalism, the understanding of Middle East culture, foreign policy relating to Israel, Saudi Arabia, and the United States, and other areas as well. So the complexity involved with September 11, 2001 is completely misunderstood. And to try and condense an event in history that is still having a ripple effect to the current day is basically impossible to do. Now, we have a lot of 9/11 truth advocates, but we have an equal amount, or probably even a greater amount of people who are just 9/11 advocates. And the reason why I take out truth is because I don't consider people like Richard Gage, Barbara Honegger, Jason Burmis, Christopher Bolin, Rebecca Roth, Citizens Investigation Team, Pause for 9/11 Truth, and dozens of others, Alex Jones, Jim Fetzer, Terry Mason, Judy Wood. I don't consider them truthers. They're liars. All of them are. And the reason why they do certain things and espouse certain things is either through benefit, financial benefit, staying relevant in the movement, or maybe they're just entirely disinforming the public on purpose. And I think that's very, very few people that do that on purpose. A lot of these people are basically misinformed. And so to try and understand the events of September 11, 2001, you would have to understand a number of different issues. Now, you know, I'm in a current email with a lot of these 9/11 truth advocates. And a lot of these people are basically advocates. These people don't believe in planes or hijackers. They believe in drones, military planes made to look like American Airlines and United Airlines planes. You know, I'm not dealing with the very sane bunch here. They want 9/11 simplified. They'll talk about the controlled demolitions of 1, 2, and 7 and stay there. When they talk about Arabs, they talk about patsies. And a lot of these people claim to be pro-Palestinian. They wouldn't know the first thing about the Israel-Palestine issue or anything. They just, you know, hate the country of Israel. Or, you know, when you have a lot of debunkers, they hate, you know, the Arabs, Islam itself. I don't consider myself a truther or a debunker. I'm a 9/11 researcher, and that's it. I don't belong to groups. So a lot of these people basically want 9/11 to be simplified. And they'll talk about the most mundane, boring things. Writing 9/11 is an inside job on their shoe, for example, or putting stickers on bathroom stalls. I mean, this is not advocacy. This is degeneracy. This is the best you got. Well, then you're a failure 21 years later. You're still begging for a grand jury. You're not even in court. What's your backup plan? What happens if you don't get that grand jury to be impaneled? Are you going to say, hey, wait a minute, maybe we did something wrong and we could go about it a different way in the future? Or are you just going to basically go back to the default position that you usually do and say, hey, see, the federal government doesn't want to hear the truth? Well, when they see that Barbara Honegger and Richard Gage and Jane Clark are on the board committees of the Lawyers Committee, what do you think is going to happen? These are people that don't believe in hijacked planes, or that the Saudis are patsies, and that the Zio-Nazis that Barbara Honegger likes to say are in control of the government. My God. and this is embarrassing at this point. They're not going to be talking about the CIA intentionally withholding information from the FBI that could have prevented part of the 9/11 attacks. Hey, by the way, we got some names there. One of them in particular is Tom Wilshire, who was the deputy chief of Alex Station, which was the bin Laden issue station. And when two al-Qaeda operatives who were involved at some level with the USS Cole bombing, and that they were fighting in the Balkans with al-Qaeda in the Balkans with Ibn Khattab, the Chechen Muslim leader of al-Qaeda, hey, maybe that's something we could go into. And when they were coming to the United States, the CIA, under the direction of the deputy chief of Alex Station, Tom Wilshire, intentionally withheld this information from being shared with the FBI, even though you had FBI agents tasked at bin Laden issue station like Mark Rossini and Doug Miller, who were trying to warn their superiors about these two guys entering the United States. The CIA wouldn't let them. And then the CIA basically lied about it and said, yeah, we gave them the information. Hey, wait a minute. That's pretty much perjury, right? I mean, that's a crime. Why isn't that being talked about in 9/11 Truth Movement? Well, I could tell you why. It's because these people don't believe in hijackers. They don't believe in Arab fundamentalists. So in other words, if there's no Arab fundamentalists inside the United States, the CIA operation tasked to detailing these people, well, they don't exist either because, well, who are they detailing? Who are they monitoring? I mean, there's so much at the stake here. I mean, there's so much you could go with. Like, for example, at the Joint House Inquiry, when Carl Levin talked to the DCI of the Central Intelligence Agency, George Tenet, about why he didn't share that information with the FBI.
Now we have a meeting in the year 2002 in New York City. And this is a meeting of a CIA analyst and FBI officials from the New York field office, which was the office investigating the Cole bombing and the FBI headquarters, including the FBI analyst on detail to the counterterrorist center at the CIA. The FBI agents on the Cole bombing pressed the CIA at that meeting for information regarding Midhar and the Malaysia meeting, but the CIA representative denied them that information. It's a very specific finding in the staff report that there was a refusal to share that information relative to Midhar and Malaysia, and as to why the CIA was tracking Midhar at a June 2001 meeting on the specific request of an FBI agent in New York. My question is, do you know why that CIA agent refused to tell the CIA agent what the FBI, what the CIA, let me start over. Do you know why the CIA agent refused to tell the FBI agent what the CIA agent knew when the FBI agent specifically said, why are you tracking Midhar?
We have, we're going to have a disagreement on the facts here. And here are the facts as I understand them. There were 3 people who left New York to go to Washington to go to New York that day. It was an FBI analyst from FBI headquarters, an FBI analyst from our counterterrorism center, and our analyst. They went up to discuss the Cole investigation. The FBI analyst from FBI headquarters brought the surveillance photos with her. And at the end of the conversation, and I've now talked to 2 of the people involved, Senator, the FBI analyst from FBI headquarters handed the surveillance photos to the New York field office personnel. There was some discussion about them. Indeed, they were talking about different people. Midhar was not who they were talking about in this meeting. When I asked our person at this meeting as to whether he was specifically asked about Midhar and Hazmi, he has no recollection of the subject ever being directed to him or ever coming up. So there's a factual issue here, and I've only talked to 2 of the people involved.
Let me read you the staff report. The CIA analyst who attended the New York meeting acknowledged to the Joint Inquiry staff that he had seen the information regarding al-Midhar's U.S. visa and al-Hazmi's traveled to the United States, but he stated that he would not share information outside of the CIA unless he had authority to do so. That's what he told our staff. Do you disagree with that?
Sir, I've talked to him as well.
Do you disagree that he said that to our staff?
Well, no, I don't disagree. He said it to your staff. I'm telling you what
Did he
told
tell you something differently?
Yes, sir. He
Okay.
gave me a different
So
perspective.
he told
on the meeting.
you and he told our staff something differently.
Well,
Okay.
but I think it's important, sir.
Yeah,
just-
but our time is limited, so let me just keep going. That's the answer. He told you something differently from what he told our staff. Mr. Mueller, Director Mueller, at that June 11th meeting, did the FBI know that Midhar and Hazmi were at the January 2000 meeting of al-Qaeda operatives in Malaysia?
I don't believe they did.
So we still don't know in June of 2001 what the CIA has known for 15 months.
Well, that's 2003, okay? You would think that at this time, 19 years later, the 9/11 truth movement is all over this. In fact, they used to be under the direction of people like John Gold and the 9/11 steering committee and Kyle Hentz of the co-founder of 9/11 Citizens Watch with the late John Judge. Yeah, they talked about this stuff, but then all of a sudden, in came Jason Bermas, Barbara Honecker, and all the other idiots who basically said, yeah, let's talk about the implosions of World Trade Center 1, 2, and 7, and let's talk about no planes being hijacked because the Arabs are patsies. Thank you very much, because now we don't even talk about this issue anymore. The CIA basically is absolved from any crimes of 9/11, including intentionally withholding information from the FBI, which probably could have prevented at least Flight 77 being hijacked because Khalid al-Mihdhar and Wafa Hadmi were involved with that hijacking. But no, I mean, you want to talk about, nuclear weapons underneath the World Trade Center. You want to talk about CGI holograms. You want to talk about Dov Zakheim controlling the planes like an Atari joystick in the basement levels of the Pentagon. You want to talk about all these stupid, ridiculous theories, but you ain't going to be talking about the real crimes of 9/11, which basically I just played one, where George Tenet, the director of the CIA, basically lied and basically said that he never told his CIA case officer, who, by the way, his name is Clark Shannon, who went to New York, basically went to Washington, D.C., and met with people like Steve Bongart, Dina Corsi, and talked about who these people are in the photographs. Meanwhile, the people in the photographs were photographed by Malaysian authorities, sent to the CIA, and they were Khalid al-Mihdhar and Wafa Hadmi at the Malaysia Summit meeting in January 2000. And the CIA knew this, and the FBI did not. Why didn't they tell the FBI that they were here in the United States? And why didn't they tell the FBI about who they were in this picture? Why? That's a great question. Mark Rossini would like for you to know why Doug Miller's cable was not sent to warn the FBI about potential al-Qaeda operatives inside the United States living openly, being funded by the Saudi government. And on the other end, you have the Israelis using movie front companies and the art student ring to basically monitor people who are involved with the hijackings of Flight 11 and 175 and 93. Now, we're not going to be talking about any of this because according to 9/11 advocates who have hijacked the truth movement, they don't want you to be talking about this because they don't believe in hijackers at all. They don't believe in hijacked planes. Oh, they may believe in hijacked planes, but they were plane swapped and they couldn't tell you by who, and they couldn't tell you where they crashed, and they couldn't tell you what happened. Therefore, there is no crime. And all the evidence is planted everywhere in broad daylight in front of everybody, in front of thousands of people. I mean, this is why the truth movement is a failure and it's dead. Because the truth movement allowed for people to hijack your movement, to basically destroy it from within by espousing these fringe conspiracy theories that are based on the imagination. You deserve it. You deserve everything you get. And listen, this is the reason why I hate these people. I don't show my vitriol. I hate these people for what they did. And the continued insults of the victims of September 11, 2001 continue. And you support these people. You, Jean Laratonda, you, Sandra Gelmi, you support these people when you open up your 9/11 war room and you entertain people like Richard Gage, who interviews these crackpots. It's just embarrassing, okay? Don't call yourself a truther because you're not at this point. You're an advocate. You're an advocate for fantasy. You're an advocate for fringe conspiracies and falsehoods. You support these people. You defend these people. And then you get mad at me because I critique them, because I'm rude to these people. Go tell the victims' families of Flight 77 or 93 or 11 or 175 that, hey, by the way, we defend people who don't believe that any of your loved ones died where they died. Yeah. Try telling that to Alex Jones and Jim Fetzer, because they tried doing that with Sandy Hook, and look what happened to them. Maybe that's what should happen to people like Barbara Honegger, who continue to espouse these falsehoods and defame the victims' families on board these hijacked flights. Maybe that's something to consider. It's just disgusting. And people like myself and Nelson Martins and Ryan Dawson and John Gold and Robbie Martin, Ray Nowolski and others, who basically tried to purport and give the public information, pertinent information, tangible evidence and information. They're so few and far between, but there's so many of these fringe conspiracy theorists that it makes it hard for people like us to overcome their disinformation.